Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Next Generation Selects exclusive, the Omega Sentinel, also known as a Guardian robot. Of course, I got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon, becoming a channel member, or purchase some merch on my Spring store today. Now, if you guys saw one of my last news videos, you probably saw that I was on the roundtable discussion with Hasbro, and we had talked about the buzzworthy Origins Jazz figure, which is a brand new mold of Jazz that of course, turns into his Cybertronian mode, and it's a really cool looking figure. I mean, when we saw it, it was just kind of like one of those wow moments, and of course, a lot of us are like, "Where's Wheeljack? Where's Wheeljack?" But it being part of the buzzworthy line means that it is a Target exclusive, and some of those figures are going to be able to be sold on Hasbro Pulse, which you could see in its vehicle mode there, in Cybertronian mode, does look really cool. But since I did talk about this, I just want to let it be known that you can pre-order it through Hasbro Pulse or through Target now, and I'm sure we'll see it on Target's shelves, but kind of stinks for those of us who may have a difficult time finding things at particular Target stores. So I hope that everybody who's looking for this figure finds it. Do want to make a quick mention of the Studio Series Scourge figure. This is the box art reveal for it. Does look pretty cool. I'm sure that there are higher res images. I do like that mean looking face on him. He really does remind me of the Fallen. And I'm talking not necessarily about live action Fallen. I'm talking about the Dreamwave Fallen, which is the very first Fallen version of that character that had ever came out. With the whole fire thing surrounding him, yeah, completely reminds me of the Fallen now, a lot more than he did before. But the big news of the day, of course, is the Omega Sentinel, or as he's being called here, the Guardian Robot. It's either or, however you want to call it. For those of you who are unaware, there is an episode in the original G1 cartoon called War Dawn. It is the origin of Optimus Prime. It is one episode that I actually did a video on, which was, what became of Dion. Of course, I also did an Omega Supreme, retrospective as well. So maybe this might require a little bit of an update to that. But in the episode War Dawn, the aerial bots actually get transported back in time, where they inadvertently meet Orion Pax, who becomes Optimus Prime. We learn about that origin as it was told in that story. And during Megatron's assault in the past, he destroyed one of the Guardian robots. Its head got blown off, and then the aerial bots came, back, into the present. And at that time in the present, Megatron and Shockwave actually took that headless Omega Sentinel or Guardian robot and had it attack the Autobots. And Superion, the aerial bots merged to form Superion to face it. So now I kind of really want to see a new Superion figure, since we already got the Stunticons, we got an Orion Pax figure. Now we need the aerial bots. And I know some of you go, well, I already have the Prime Wars figures. Well, I don't have the Prime Wars Superion. So yeah, I would really like to see that updated as well. But the Guardian robot a couple Guardian robots also showed up in the episode Forever is a Long Time Coming, which is the origin of Alpha Trion and how he began the revolution that eventually kicked the Quintessons off the planet. Before, Alpha Trion at that time was known as A3, and then he became Alpha Trion later on in his life. So it would be kind of cool to actually have this figure as part of your collection. Doesn't have an Autobot symbol on it, which is kind of neat. And comes with all the same accessories that the original Omega Supreme figure did. Now, later in later stories and later G1 centered continuities like the Dreamwave comics and the IDW comics, the Guardian robots were known as Omega Sentinels, and Omega Supreme was the top tiered, Omega Sentinel. but it originally was called a Guardian robot, and that's why they're calling it by this name. So that's kind of a brief history on this character. Maybe if I actually did, no, it's not really a character. It's, several, robots that really didn't have much of a personality, but seeing the figure itself in these colors is kind of cool. Also comes with a redeco of Countdown, as Lunar Tread is the name of the Micromaster that comes with him. Very, very cool looking color scheme. It's one of those things where it's like, I actually really dig this particular color scheme for the Countdown mold, because usually lunar rollers are usually like a silver or a gray. So having one in these colors I think is probably more appropriate for a lunar rover, but still Countdown is a cool figure. I actually still have to open my Omega Supreme figure, and I should do a review on him soon, because it was it would be kind of neat to actually place him next to Devastator. Getting a look, him and his base mode still has the same, treads that he had originally. And of course, the Lunar Tread can actually fit inside the rocket as well. So it's a cool looking figure. But the real question is it worth getting? And it really comes down to are you able to afford to get it? Because this is where we're starting to see, I believe that Metroplex was the first one that went up to $200, because this one is now $200, $199.99 US for a Titan class figure, and it's a Generation Selects figure. They already had success with Black Zarak, which was the redeco of Scorponok, and now seeing if they're going to have any success with redecoing Omega Supreme into the Guardian robot is really going to be boiling down to whether or not you want this figure in your collection. And to be quite frank with you, I would like it in my collection, if Superion is coming. If we are going to get a Superion figure, it would be worth it, because then you can kind of reenact some of the old scenes. But without it, it's a toss-up for me. But I see some people who are like, I love this color scheme. I love the blue and the white. I love the lunar roller for Lunar Tread. And I also, if you really like the Omega Supreme, the Siege figure, yeah, this is probably right up your alley and worth getting as well. Because, Omega Supreme in the Siege cartoon was also, at the same time, was one of the many Guardians that, Optimus Prime, asked, them to come and help in the fight against Megatron, and instead only one of them actually decided to do his own, decided to make his own step, and that was Omega Supreme. So seeing that, it's really, really cool to see this kind of redeco, because it's an obscurity, right? When you have, Black Zarak is not that obscure, comparatively speaking, because he was like a main villain in the Japanese Master Force, and him being a Generation Selects, it kind of makes sense. But this is a little bit more niche because it was really only 2 episodes in which the Guardian robot appeared in, and the Omega Sentinels were kind of like, they were like very, very minor appearances, because they needed to prop up Omega Supreme as being like the main one, which is still kind of cool. Very, very cool to see. I really wonder if there's going to end up being a repaint, or maybe someone actually might get a second one and paint that chest red to match the Omega Sentinels of the Dreamwave comics. But we'll see. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is worth it, or do you think that this is kind of not really the type of Titan that you were looking for? Because I'm sure we're going to see more. We're going to see a lot more Titan figures, through Legacy. Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I have many more Transformers news, reviews, retrospectives, and more coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for all that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.